So what are phases and what are tiers and classes? I know it's a bit confusing if you're new to Earth 2, especially with the new introduction to tiers, which is the most recent introduction, just happened in November of 21, right as we were ending the year and coming up on the 1-year anniversary of Earth 2 being launched. So in this episode, I want to focus specifically on the phases so I can clear that up to anyone who's new to Earth 2 and may be confusing some of the terminology and not really sure what's already happened, what's going on right now, and what is in the pipeline and what to expect. What's going on, Earth 2 novice enthusiasts and everyone in between? Welcome to another episode of Earth 2 News, where we discuss everything Earth 2. If you want to stay up to date with the latest news, strategies, giveaways, and events, make sure you are subscribed and you've got those alert notifications on. You're also going to want to check out the links in the show notes so you can learn how to win money and land in my weekly giveaways, as well as subscribe to my newsletter so you can get exclusive information before it even makes it into an episode. And if you're new to Earth 2, you're definitely going to want to check out my playlist that is dedicated to Earth 2 noobs and has a bunch of different videos that will help you understand what's happened, what's going on, and what to do next so you can skip mistakes and fast track your success. Before we get started, I want to let you know that this is part of a series I made specifically for people who are new to Earth 2, so you're able to get caught up. Or maybe you've been playing with Earth 2 for a while, but you haven't been staying up to date with all of the recent announcements, or maybe you just want to hear my take on what I've seen and what I think is coming up. In any case, you're going to want to make sure you check out the rest of the playlist on my YouTube. I'm also going to have a podcast series. To find the playlist, there might be a link popping up in the corner, or you can check the show notes for a link, or just search my channel. Now that that's out of the way, let's jump into today's episode. So jumping right into it, we are currently at the time of this filming, we are in phase 2, and we're probably going to be in phase 2 for a while, and I'll explain more about that. But first, let's talk about phase 1. Phase 1 started in 2020, and that's when Earth 2 launched. About November of 2020, and towards December is when we had the first live stream with the developers and the CEO, Shane Isaac, and they kind of went into a bit more detail than what was on the website at that time. Now, they have changed the information that is on the website. They've added a lot to the information on the website, but to give you an idea as to what phase 1 was about, the summary was really just establishing the groundwork of buying and selling land, the marketplace, so that there was a secondary buying and selling option available, and starting to get some of the initial momentum. Now, I don't really recall a specific time when phase 1 ended and phase 2 started. We kind of just started seeing developments that were in the timeline, in the roadmap for phase 2. We started seeing them come to fruition, and they're still coming to fruition now. So unless I'm mistaken, and feel free to correct me in the comments, it kind of just blurred almost without any real hoopla or any major announcement that we were in phase 2. Maybe we're still in phase 1, maybe I'm wrong, but we're seeing all the developments of stuff that are in phase 2. So I don't know if we would say that phase 2 started because they started working on this stuff, or phase 2 will officially be when all this stuff is done. But I have a strong feeling that we are in phase 2, which probably started, one could argue, in the spring or second quarter of 2021. We've seen a gradual introduction and release, or addition, however you want to say it, of features and abilities and functions upon which future economies and development in Earth 2 will be based. At the time of this recording, we've already seen a myriad of things go live, some stuff that we weren't even expecting. We got the Hollow Building Editor, Joules, Ether, which can be converted into Essence, which requires mentors, and those are also out, and a lot more. And I will cover those things specifically in other videos, but just to keep this nice and as short as possible, I'm just focusing on the phases and what has been released. But check out those videos. Maybe a link's gonna be popping up, or you could find it somewhere else on my channel. And I seriously suggest you check that stuff out, because it is imperative to understanding how the gameplay and future development are going to be rolling out, and also give you some hints on what else to expect. Not to mention other ways for you to be making money right now. But one thing we haven't seen yet, and we know is coming in phase 2, are going to be resources. And at least at the filming of this episode, resources aren't live yet. However, we are seeing a lot of things that need to be put in place. Before resources are available. We're already seeing some of the menu options and some screens and some stats for resources, and we know that we're going to be able to do some buying, selling, and trading resources at the bazaar. Now, the bazaar is another thing that has recently come about, and right now you're able to buy, sell, and trade jewels on the bazaar. And again, I'll get into jewels and crafting and slotting in another video to dive deeper on that stuff. But we also know that resources are going to be something else we could buy, sell, and trade on the bazaar. Resources, just like jewels and ether, will be produced by our properties. Once they're produced, like I said, we have the option to sell them, we can store them, or we can use them to build other assets on Earth 2, which is where the hollow building editor comes into play. And I expect a lot of other builders and features and other abilities to create assets is in the pipeline as well. While that is, I will tell you, speculative because it hasn't officially been announced or detailed anywhere. I just think it's common sense based on the other stuff I've seen in other metaverses. Now, each one of these phases is necessary to set up the next phase. And really, phase 2, I would say the overall goal is adding a significant amount of substance, content, abilities, features, and everything that would be necessary in order to prepare us for phase 3, while also setting up users or players, whatever you want to call us, to start contributing to the future development of Earth 2. And I'll explain that as I dive into phase 3. Now, phase 3, we're not sure when it's going to happen. This is all moving at the speed of development. So timelines and roadmaps have to stay somewhat flexible and dynamic, and they haven't really set any static dates yet. And I'm sure that's because they know that they are going to be doing a lot of stuff that is revolutionary. It's hard to predict how long it's going to take. And I also believe that they aren't staying too stuck or adhered to a specific path when they come up with new ideas through the process and maybe figure out some other additions that would be fun to do now. While it will extend the timeline, they're putting them in place because their objective is to make something that is self-sustaining and will provide an overall better experience. So I expect a lot of these things that we're not expecting, like the jewels and the ether and the essence, which may have been just something they were keeping under wraps, but I do think some of this stuff was kind of thrown into the mix or ad-libbed as they went through and realized, it'd be a really good idea, or how we'd be able to solve this problem or add this ability, let's put this in place. But in any case, phase 3 is going to be where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, somewhat literally, but definitely metaphorically. And this is the highly anticipated phase where we are actually going to be able to visit and explore Earth 2 via VR, AR, and desktop. Now, I've seen a lot of people who are questioning or even expressing frustration as to why they can't visit Earth 2 now. After all, you could start walking around Decentraland and some of these other metaverses. Why are they waiting so long to let us visit Earth 2 and walk around our metaverse? Well, there's a multitude of different reasons. One of the major ones is obviously making a 1-to-1 scale replica of the Earth is going to take quite a bit longer than just building a random blank landscape like they've done with Metaverse and Sandbox and some of these others. They're not having to replicate anything. They can just kind of make it as they see fit, and it's nowhere near the scale of Earth 2. So that's the main reason. But also, let's say that they had the entire landscape done and they used, machine learning and AR, which are being implemented to help them expedite the entire process. But let's say that was already done. Now you're going to visit a blank Earth, like you're just going to walk around with nothing to do, no buildings or anything else. Well, that doesn't sound very fun, and you probably have a lot of people who are going to visit, get really excited, and then get really bored because the other stuff isn't put in place yet. So it makes sense to me as a business owner and someone who's been a part of projects, in order to keep the community interested, you do have to put things off and maybe not let them in until you have some fun stuff to play around with. If they open Walt Disney without any of the rides people would line up the first day, but after that, ticket sales would probably plummet. And it's also going to be hard for them to do further development and releases and construction and everything else with people walking around and with the park open. So we do have to postpone and wait until we can actually visit. But what's cool is when we go there, there will be structures in place because we already have the Hollow Building Editor. And we have a bunch of people making some amazing buildings, some stuff that is like next level, very, very creative, very impressive. And I'm very excited to walk around and explore these buildings. We're also already going to have an economy set up with buying, selling, and trading, and I anticipate that when resources are released, we're going to be able to create even more assets, so we might even have vehicles and all sorts of other fun stuff to play around with. Now, this is going to be pure speculation, but I will also anticipate that either with the release of Phase 3 or sometime during Phase 3, we're also going to have some games. Now, if you haven't been paying attention to Earth 2, they acquired a game called Droid, the entire company. They acquired that. Now, if you haven't been paying attention to Earth 2 news, a little while ago, a big announcement was the acquisition of Droid. If you're not familiar with Droid, it's a very interesting game and it is perfect for Earth 2. Basically the premise, and I'm not too familiar, I haven't played the game, but I've seen some of the gameplay video. Droid is a game, and again, they just basically acquired the entire company, the entire team, brought them over. And Droid is a game where you create these spaceship looking things that go to battle and you can complete missions, and there's also terraforming. So what better game to involve with a program where you're going to be building your own assets and probably machinery and vehicles, buildings, clothing, who knows what else. And again, this is very speculative. But also with the terraforming, they have mentioned in that first developer call, they have mentioned that they've hinted towards an ability to terraform. So if you bought some land that's in a desert and you want to start getting some woods and you don't have any forests there, they did mention there is going to be some way to terraform and alter the land and the resources to an extent that that land can produce. So we've got an acquisition of a video game where you're building stuff. Great way to expend resources. Good thing we're already going to have this resource-based economy. And also terraform. Sounds pretty perfect for a Phase 3 launch, right? Now, if you're not familiar, one of the major goals for Earth 2 is to allow other people to develop third-party games and have them hosted within Earth 2. So us as users will be able to develop our own games, and there will also probably be companies, major third-party companies, who will be developing and using the Earth 2 ecosystems and landscape as an integral part of their gameplay. So now Rockstar Games doesn't have to build out an entire New York City or Los Angeles for their next Grand Theft Auto. They just have to create the characters, some goals and objectives, and they can use the actual landscape that already exists in Earth 2, which will save them a ton of time on development. Now, again, this is just a speculative example, but these are the things that they have mentioned that they have intentions for. So if they know they're going to be letting us run around in Phase 3, they're going to want to make sure that we're going to be entertained and we keep coming back. So games would be the most convincing way to keep people coming back, on top of being able to develop buildings, which we're already doing, more assets, and like with Decentraland, you can get NFT t-shirts and shoes and all sorts of stuff for your avatars. It would make sense to have a system in place that would allow us to do that within the game, instead of us having to learn how to do all the sorts of coding and creation third party, which I'm sure they'll allow that kind of stuff to come through those files, and whatever else would probably be compatible as well. But wouldn't it be cool to have all those features and abilities, at least to an extent, even on a basic level within the game, that you're going to be hosting and selling and trading and wearing and using these NFTs and other assets? And now I say NFTs just because that's, again, another speculative guess, but that's what makes the most sense, and that's also what I've seen in other metaverses. They've always said that they want this to be a very communal project. So what better way to do that than to give the users the power to create not only the environment that we're going to be playing in, but also all of the games that we're going to be playing and the assets that we're going to be playing with. Now, if we're going to talk cryptocurrency and that kind of speculation, it's sort of been kind of confirmed that we're having cryptocurrency going to be introduced at some point. I would think phase 3 would probably be a great place, if not phase 2, to introduce a cryptocurrency. Everything's already in place and it looks like they're already using blockchain technology. They already have the NFTs that they've basically showcased with the first Easter egg hunt. Not to brag, but I happen to have won one. Very proud of that. And we also have Ether and Essence on top of the e-dollars. So is one of those going to turn out to be some kind of cryptocurrency, or maybe there's going to be a fourth type of asset that we're going to be seeing as a cryptocurrency? Really, I guess it'd be like a fifth or a sixth if you count resources and jewels as assets or securities or commodities at least. I don't know, but again, phase 2 and phase 3 would be an ideal time to release that, and there's no reason why they wouldn't, as we've seen so many other metaverse projects are based around cryptocurrency. Now, another speculation warning, and if you're not familiar, I always try to tell you when I'm speculating and just talking out of my ass with some educated guesses. I don't just tell you what I think is going to happen and try to spin it as a fact. I will tell you, again, speculation, but assuming there's going to be a phase 4, and we kind of know there is going to be a phase 4, I'm speculating that that is where the marketing is really going to be beefed up. Again, once these other economies and abilities and reasons to visit Earth 2 and stay fascinated and playing and involved and engaged with Earth 2 are already established and released through phases 1, 2, and 3, marketing becomes one of the next things. And that's where you and I are also going to be able to participate in some of the rev share based on what properties we have and how alluring and ideal they are for marketing. But that's also when I think a lot of money is going to be flooding into the Earth 2 ecosystem, because that is what the big brands want. They want an ability to market. And right now, it is set up in a really beta way. If you look at the map, you can see these little, visit this YouTube channel and visit this, website. It's a real basic level just to kind of beta test the marketing abilities, but I think it's going to be much more expansive, especially after phase 3, when we're actually visiting the Earth 2 ecosystem and we're able to see these billboards and whatever else that they're going to be putting up for marketing purposes. Now, I think 2022 is a great time to be getting into Earth 2, because while you're not at the ground floor, this isn't 2020 anymore, and really it was 2021 is when most of this stuff came to fruition. What's great is all of these goals and roadmaps that have already been accomplished are behind us, and it shows that this is going to be coming to fruition. It is a much more worthwhile effort or venture to be playing with and investing your time and attention and money into. And the team and the project is only growing in credibility, ability, prowess, and experience. The community around Earth 2 is larger than ever before, and when it comes to metaverse projects, Earth 2 is hands down my favorite. I think this is still a hot time to get into Earth 2, because a lot of this stuff, the full value of what's coming, isn't released yet, so I expect it only to be continuing to grow, and especially when it gets into cryptocurrency, especially in time for the next bull run in cryptocurrency, which will probably be in a few years. This isn't going to be something that's going to be happening tomorrow. Yeah, there are some projects in the metaverse that are already launched. There's some that have a lot more, notoriety, but this is going to be very unique. If for nothing else, its sheer size and its ability to have geolocations related to what's going on in the game and your experiences in AR and VR in the real world. Metaverse, Sandbox, Wild, none of those other projects, even Facebook's metaverse so far doesn't have any intention to do that so far. Even Facebook's metaverse hasn't mentioned any intention to do that. So while there will be a lot of metaverses coming out over the next decade or so, This is going to be extremely unique, and I am very confident in the investments that I've made so far, the purchases I've made, whatever you want to call them, in Earth 2, and I'm going to continue to buy in. And I'm also going to have a new updated video for 2022 that you should be checking out. Maybe the link will be popping up. If I forgot to put the link popping up on the screen there, actually be popping up on that side. Sorry, I always point to that side out of habit, but it should be popping up over there, or already did. Or if it didn't, search my channel, because I do have a new updated strategy that is going to take into account a lot of the developments that have happened over 2021 and how to set yourself up with the best land in 2022 and beyond. So to sum it up, we got more to come for phase 2. Phase 3 is where we're going to actually be able to walk around, play around, and get deeper into it. And then speculatively, phase 4 is going to be further enhancing and enriching the value of Earth 2, the economies of Earth 2, the money-making abilities for you and I as players, and building upon the things that we're really seeing coming out now in phase 2 especially, as well as the other things that we can expect to continue to see releases in the months and years to come. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you found it informative and useful. For more information on this subject, as well as deep dives into anything Earth 2, tips, strategies, upcoming events, giveaways of both cash and land, you're going to want to make sure that you're subscribed to this channel, Earth 2 News, and my newsletter, as well as checking out those links in the show notes below. Until my next episode, I look forward to helping you find your way around Earth 2.